Okay. This is gonna be like the part 2 for what happened with the other stream. Um, David, don't worry about it. You just pressed the wrong button. Ah, crap. I gotta call. Um, so I'm back. It's just me. I think. Let's see. I think he's got to. I think he's got to like turn off either like the mic or the camera, something. But don't worry, I'm still here. All right, so let's keep this conversation rolling. All right, let's does it when I yes. As a matter of fact, I actually woke up early to work the following morning, and I hope that that rings true for tomorrow. Yeah. Um, I'm not afraid of the questions. I still got a lot of Long Island iced tea. Goodness gracious, I think I got a talk slow now. Um, all right. So because Daivon ended the stream early, which I don't blame him for because I actually don't know how to like walk out of the stream on my own. But all right. So in my other league, I'm gonna just start off until I get some more. Oh geez, until I get some more questions. So in my other league, I have Aaron Rodgers as my starting quarterback. I have Emmanuel Sanders as my first wide receiver, and then followed up by Tyler Boyd. Seems a little bit weak there. I understand that, but wait until you hear my bench. And my running backs, I have Nick Chubb and Cordell Patterson. And my tight end, I still have Pitts again, because hey, I am still gonna. Hey, I'm gonna. There's a lot of hills that I'm gonna die on, and one of them is gonna be that I'm gonna be there when Kyle Pitts gets his first touchdown. That ends has not been that much favored so far in this league. And in my flex, I actually have Austin Eckler, who had such a great performance against the Raiders. And on my bench, let's make this clear. I have Matt Ryan as my quarterback. I have 3 wide receivers that include Tyler Lockett, Justin Jefferson, and Robert Woods. As my backup tight end, I have Mark Andrews. And then my 2 other kind of would-be guys on my bench would be Mike Davis and Dawson Knox. So my kicker is Harrison Butker for the Chiefs, and then my defense is still Denver. So that was that. All right, I just want to make that clear. I feel like a lot of people like got out of like YouTube or Facebook or whatever Black Fourth under the run because the stream ended too early. Goodness. Okay, we're back up. We had a makeshift part 2. I don't know if it's gonna say that in the YouTube algorithms or whatever that you're watching on, but yeah. Don't worry, I was not expecting this. All right, Blizz818. Don't worry, I'm gonna have a lot more. We'll have a lot more iced tea. Who to play at flex? James Conner. Is that Darrell Henderson, Jamar Chase, or Emmanuel Sanders? At the end of the night, I'm still gonna have to drink all this stuff. Let's see. When it comes to James Conner, he's up against Denver's defense. Wait a minute. I'm still thinking as if he's on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Goodness gracious, I am way too happy. All right, he's facing San Francisco. That's what I'm gonna say. And then Darrell Henderson is going up against. He's okay. He's going up against Seattle. I'm gonna put some on TSC infused glass of one to keep you company. Appreciate you rocking with me. Okay. Hey, if I still make sense, then I'm doing a better job than most people. All right. I still like Jamar Chase. You know, and I mentioned this before in the other stream. Now that I gotta say that it's part two, uh, he's still the number one option over in Cincinnati, and Jair Alexander is out. All right, so Eric Stokes is going to be like the de facto number one corner, and I know that he's played very well so far, but I'm sorry, but that chemistry between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase is something that I still want to grab hold to. All right, so if you got a Bengals wide receiver like me, I'd still take that chance. All right, I got Tyler Boyd and T Higgins in separate drafts. I didn't get the luxury of getting Jamar Chase. All right, and it didn't help that his preseason was as bad as it was, which really dropped his fantasy stock. But fact remains is he's still the number one, and as long as he's got that good rapport with Joe Burrow, I'm gonna take that chance. All right, and I know you got James Conner. But he's over, like I said, he's over up against San Francisco. You got Darrell Henderson, who's up against the Thursday night game against Seattle. You got Emmanuel Sanders. I want to say that it's Emmanuel Sanders. You just said Sanders, all right? But Emmanuel Sanders, he's someone that I'm still writing on hope to. Excuse me, jeez. But if you got Jamar Chase as your flex, I'm gonna take that chance. It says you feel like both of your fantasy teams are stacked, but sitting at 2-2 and 1-3 stressful stuff. I am actually undefeated in one of them, but I'm also 2-2 in the other one. All right, and it's just a matter of like the other one just had just godsends at the other 2 weeks, and I just couldn't keep up with. I still average like 120 points per week. All right. So, as long as I'm undefeated in the one that gets me money at the end of the year, I still feel like I'm not that terrible of an option to rely on for advice. All right, and I think the most amount of moves that I made is with that one too. So, but at the moment right now, you still gotta listen to me at your own barrel. Oh boy! All right. Jeez, I was not expecting this. So, Daivon, I want to see this in the I want to see this in the comments. I want to see this in the comment section afterwards, or maybe if we're gonna stick around until later on. I'm gonna make sure that you get asked this question, like, what is your hot take of the season so far? All right, that's something I want to know. It doesn't have to be Falcons related. I just want to know, like, what is your hot take of the season? So if you come back, that's the first thing I'm gonna ask you. Let's say my name says I lost against someone who played Matt Ryan and the football team. 42 points I didn't see coming. 42 point. Goodness gracious, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was not good for you. All right. Jeez. All right. Being on your own is one thing. Being on your own when you're already kind of like out of it is another. Okay. Well, you know, I think I gotta watch a little bit more about. I'm gonna talk more about the Falcons until I get some more comments about fantasy. All right, so up against the Jets in London. Ooh, let's see if I can pull this off. Okay, I was watching some film about the Jets, And what I can tell is that Tennessee still really had a chance to win that game. All right, at one point they were up 9-0. And if had those third downs gone their way, because one of those third downs was like it was like a 3rd and 1, and then Tannehill just got a bad snap from the center, and then he had to recover, and then they obviously had a kick. So then, yeah, like one of them was just a dead drive, but the other one, they still really struggled against those secondary for the Jets, right? And maybe it's just because like the matchups was kind of even. I've seen other people say like, oh hey, well the Jets only have like 5th or 6th round cornerbacks, but if we put that same logic to our team, Grady Jarrett's just a 5th round defensive tackle. That's not to say that he's a bad player, So there's a couple of players that can be drafted later on in the season, but because of the situations that they're in, they can really be put to their best potential. And maybe that's something that they didn't see in college. Maybe that's something that they can only see in the pros up against one of the better opponents. So with us, I'm trying. Goodness gracious, I want to see a run first kind of team in this Atlanta offense. All right, because Derrick Henry had like 157 yards. And that's not even accounting McNichols as their backup tight end, or goodness gracious, as their backup running back for Tennessee. All right, so when you put that into perspective, I am out of it. Goodness gracious, Leighton Dress, where was Leighton Dress is where the jewels are. Yeah. All right, I'm glad I got some more people coming back. Oh goodness gracious. Okay. But yeah, I mean, you can't just take a look at where they're drafted and be like, oh hey, like if they're a 5th round prospect, then they must suck. Sometimes the draft class can be so top heavy, or it can be so deep in the roster that there's a couple of other positions that just fall just because of where they're, like what position that they play or whatever kind of role that they were given in their college defense. Blaze 819 says the football season has been great. I stay in LA and feel like I got to go to a Rams or Chargers. Goodness gracious, I am sorry for the lack of reading ability. Or Chargers game. They are the show in town. My buddies are Raiders fans and they went to SoFi on Monday. Yeah, I got a buddy of mine that's also like a big Raiders fan. He was born in Oakland. All right, so you can pretty much guarantee. All right, let me get closer into the camera. Goodness gracious. All right, like we're both using, like me and Daivon, we're both using our phones, and goodness, we both look like Twix bars. I'm sorry, like we both just look like parallel strips of just caramel. All right. But when it came to the game plan that we can have against the Jets, on the okay, but in the game plan against New York, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I want to see us learn how to recover on the secondary when it comes to these improvisational plays that Zach Wilson can throw up. All right, like in my article, if you check that out, I appreciate it if you do. On my article, I mentioned that the Falcons wide receivers, they're not really prone to going off script. They have a script that they really trust, but if the play lasts a little bit longer than that, then sometimes they just end up in a cluster and it looks like a game of 3 flags up or 3 flags up, whatever you want to call it. All right, sometimes it's more of a regional thing, but the fact that our receivers don't have that lesson being taught to them, and the fact that the Jets receivers do, That lets you know that our secondary really has to improve when it comes to like if the play lasts longer than 3 seconds. So TJ Green, Avery Williams, you really got to step up, man. I'm sorry. And one of the things that K Styles and Mad Mike and Drew Talk Sports was talking about on Tuesday was the Barry Sanders defense. Oh my goodness! My platform is nothing but just a bunch of cardboard boxes, by the way. Millie Mills says I should drop Gaskin for Latavius Murray. I'm gonna treat that as if you've already made the statement, and I'm not gonna treat it as if it's a question. All right, because at this point I am a little bit more out of it than I was last week. Okay. If you do that. Okay. Oh gosh. B-Dub says, should I play Patterson or Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Well, I'm gonna finish this. All right. There ain't nothing much to this whiskey. Whew, I might have to send a message to my manager that I may be late for work tomorrow morning. I got good job security though. It's fine. Okay, so B-Dub says, should I play Patterson or Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I'm still sticking with Patterson, all right? Patterson is the hot hand of our offense, all right? Like, that is who we're living and dying off of right now. And he doesn't have to be on the field all that many times in order to get production. Whereas with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like, they really got to predicate off of being on the lead early, which I think if Buffalo really shows up against that game on Sunday night, which they really can on offense. Like, let's be real. The Chiefs' defense is nothing to really be afraid of right now, outside of like Chris Jones and maybe Tyrann Mathieu. Like, if we're being honest, like there's not a whole lot of players. Like, there's a lot of decent players, but there's not a whole lot of players that like really strike fear into the opponents of the defense. Like we at least have like 4 or 5 players, that are really productive if we pay attention close enough. But that's out of 11 players total. So when it comes to the Bills, maybe they can keep up against Kansas City. And if that's the case, maybe you don't see enough of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's what I'm really getting at here. Whereas with Patterson, he's gonna be on the field if we're down. He's gonna be on the field if we're tied. He's gonna be on the field in key situations where they gotta make a score. Blaze 818 says Terry Fontenot needs to hold up his end of the bargain and make some calls. Panthers got Henderson on a rookie contract for a reserve tight end. That could have been Hurst, as Arthur Smith taking the blame for a bad roster. Wait a minute. Let's see. Let's take a look at this. Terry Fontenot needs to hold up his end of the bargain and make some calls. If you're thinking that, with what money? With what money, honestly? Panthers got Henderson on a rookie contract for a reserve tight end. I wouldn't call Dan Arnold a reserve tight end. Tommy Tremble really has been kind of showing the upside of him, but that was against the Texans. Did you really see him a whole lot of Tommy Tremble against Dallas? Not really. Especially not in scoring situations where that was just Sam Darnold's bread and butter on the run game. Well, when it comes to taking the blame for the bad roster, this is the first year for them, honestly. All right, you really got to treat it as that. This is the first year for both the head coach and the general manager. They don't have control over the situation that they're in. I know that they wanted to be here, but the fact remains that the contracts and the salary cap and the pandemic, those are all key variables for what the roster looks like right now and for what the salary cap looks like right now too. So if you really think about it, there was not a whole lot of moves that we can make. All right, and the ones that we did, like signing Mike Pennell, signing a backup offensive lineman, those were still practice squad players that were eventually started up on the active roster, like Dustin Colquitt is another example. And that just kind of goes to show that they still trust the process first, and they want the players to really reap the rewards here, versus them blaming the roster for the lack of talent, because I don't really think that that's true. If we put it together, we can still score like 30 plus points a game, and we can still let our opponents to somewhere in the teens, which is something that we haven't really said before. I don't want to really hold this and make it say like, okay, well, 4 weeks in, then we already kind of know what our roster looks like, and we already kind of know what our coaching decision looks like, and we already kind of know this and this, that, and the third. That's not a fair comparison to make. All right, we're still heading into week 5. We haven't had our bye week yet. All right, and to be fair, like if you look at some of the plays that we have yet to make, I wouldn't really blame that on a bad roster. I would just kind of blame that on stuff that just didn't go our way there. Maybe if the referees make a good enough call, maybe we win that game. There's a couple of factors like that just really make you think like, hey, maybe we could be 2-2 instead of 1-3. And if that's the case, do you really say that the roster is bad? Millie Mill says maybe. I don't really know what to, but there's a lot of problems that we had that are still lingering from the previous season. And I wouldn't really go so far as to say that that's a reason of the coaching staff, because they have yet to really establish what they wanted to do so far. Like if you listen to DP's, like press conferences, he's still saying that they have to get there on the defense. Like they're not there yet. They have to get there. On Arthur Smith, on his press conferences, like they have to get there. They're not there yet on the offense. We've seen one good thing coming out from the other. Like we've seen the defense on their best day. We've seen the offense on their best day. If we can put that together, it doesn't matter who we face. And if that's the case, like, hey, maybe we start going on a momentum streak. Maybe we start going on a good run. Because, like, our next couple of games are still something that we can, like, I'm not going to say that we don't have a chance to lose or that we don't have a chance to win. All right? Greg says, start 3 PPR, Woods, Pittman, Waddle, Devontae Smith, Damian Williams, also Higbee and Schultz this week. Now's the time I really have to use the bathroom. I'm going to keep it on here, man, because that's how much I care about y'all. All right, so if I got to start 3 in a PPR league, let's see. I got Woods, I got Pittman, I got Waddle, I got Devontae Smith, I got Damian Williams. All right, so there's a lot to look at here. All right, so with Woods, he is going up against Seattle, and I've already kind of said it before that I like that matchup right now just because Matthew Stafford really has to prove a point now, and he's going to have to use his best players in order to do that. All right, he's got to make sure that that game against Arizona isn't a fluke. He's got to say that, hey, this is our get-right team. The Seattle don't have that great of a defense. That's exploitable, if that's a word. And then you put Pittman in. He's up against the Ravens. The Ravens still have a good enough of a game plan in order to compensate for the talent that the Colts have right now. Because sometimes it's just a matter about who's throwing to them. I've said this before. Do you really trust Carson Wentz to throw to Pittman on a consistent basis for you? Do you really trust Jacoby Brissett to throw to Jalen Waddle on a consistent basis for you? Do you really trust Jalen Hurts to throw to Devontae Smith on a consistent basis for you? Millie Mills is saying, hey, Damian, start him because David Montgomery's not going to be there. And they really need a running back right there for Chicago. And then with Higbee and Schultz, they don't have a whole lot of upside as regards to Devontae Smith and Robert Woods. So if I got to start three, I'm going to go with Robert Woods. I'm going to go with Devontae Smith, and then maybe in the flex of Damian Williams. So those are my three there. Les is saying that we got no chance. I bet the entire NFC West would make it before the Atlanta pulls off a wild card appearance. Anyways, Millie Mills says Schultz, Williams, and Smith. He also sends his desperation attempts in order to try to answer the question for you. If I'm going to go back to this for a second, though. If that's the case, look, everyone in the NFC West is good. That's not a detriment to us as a team. That's just saying how good the NFC West is as a division. If you really recognize it as that, instead of saying that, oh, hey, like we have no chance that, if you're going to say that the Lions are going to make a playoff berth before us, then I'm going to have some real question marks there. But to really say something like this, it's not a matter of how bad we are. It's just a matter of how good they are. That's what I really think of it. So I wouldn't say that we don't have a chance if we just stop getting out of our own way. We've really seen against the game in Washington that if one play goes in our favor, then we win the game. And I don't care what play that you choose. That's how many plays that there were. If you go back to like the Falcons Audible podcast with DJ Shockley and Dave Archer, their first segment was, hey, if you had the magic wand, what game are you rewriting? Or what play are you rewriting? And they had their own things to say, and I had my own things to say in the article that I've written on our website. Goodness gracious, I'm starting to burp. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That kick return was one of them. If they don't have that, do you really trust Taylor Heineke to have that and like X amount of drives that got you like 20 or like 70 to 80 plus yards? I don't really think they can deliver on that. And I know that Isaiah Oliver was hurt by that time, but we still had a third and out. That we still gave him a 3 and out in the fourth quarter. How many times have we said that in years past? Like we can make fun of Fabian Moreau and Tyler Davidson and Steven Means all we want, but the fact remains that the other 8 players are still doing their job. And if we can get 11 players to do the job that requires 11 players on a consistent basis, we get the win. And that's all there is to it. There's so many plays to look at in Sunday's game to make you think, bro, if this goes our way, then we win. If this goes our way, then we win. Like the fact that that's a multiple choice question, it lets you know something. And to be fair, on Washington's side of things, I never considered Washington to be a bad team. They went to the playoffs, and I think that their roster got better from the year before. And I don't care that Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't there, because Ryan Fitzpatrick to Taylor Heineke isn't that much of a drop-off. And it's not like they really missed anyone else due to injury. So when you think about it in that regard, Washington still might have what it takes in order to be a playoff team. And it's not for nothing that Atlanta lost to them. All right, I'm not going to sit here and say that we looked embarrassing against the Jets, or that we looked embarrassing against the Giants, or that we looked embarrassing against the team that we should have beaten before. Case in point, the Eagles. But That being said, if we take a look at our progression, we have improved every single week. And so long as we do that, things will get on the right course. If you really believe that, then continue to be a fan and continue to show up for them on every Sunday. Because that's what this team really needs. It really needs this type of fan base that is there for them, that shows the loyalty that it takes in order to show that, hey, we are still behind you, and it doesn't matter what you play like. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, it sounds like you're really competent, and it sounds like you're really happy that they're losing. Look, I can only speak for myself, right? But I am proud to watch the Falcons every single week. I'm not happy that they lose. All right? If I'm not passionate, then what the heck am I doing here on the stream? I am just happy to see them progress. If it doesn't amount to wins, then fine. As long as they keep being better than they were the week before. And I've seen that. And I know what you're thinking. And I know what you're thinking. Well, heck, like they gave up 34 points. That's twice as much as they gave up last week. Those were different occurrences. And those were preventable. You're taking a look at the final product before it was finished. But if you take a look at as the play was being made, things could have went differently. Liz ain't when you are really trying to make me late for work tomorrow, aren't you? You were also really trying to make me go to the bathroom. Sorry too, Flex, Woods, JJ. Wait a minute, is that JJ Arcega-Whiteside? Emmanuel Sanders or Pollard? If I gotta start two, the first one is gonna be Emmanuel Sanders. The second of them, goodness, I don't make sense anymore. And the second one that I'm starting is still gonna be Robert Woods. Whew. The things I do for y'all gotta appreciate me. All right. Okay, so if I'm speaking on the Jets' behalf, which I don't really want to, but if I'm speaking on the Jets' behalf, they weren't that bad when it came to running the ball. I was kind of thinking that too, but the way that they said that, the only JJ I know is JJ Arcega-Whiteside. But if that's Julio Jones, then you could have just said Julio. I didn't really understand that too. But even if that's the case, my answer still remains. Although Pollard is a good option there to have. All right, let me be clear. But if JJ really stands for JJ Arcega-Whiteside, I don't know why the heck you even have him on your roster. That don't even make sense to me if I'm sober. All right. I'm trying to resort back to like doing the week something preview, the week 5 preview. But hey, don't worry about that. Okay, so all right, so now we got that out of the way. It's no longer JJ Arcega-Whiteside. It's Julio Jones. Okay, so I gotta treat him as if he's still active. I don't think that he is. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna research this live for you. So don't worry. Assuming I can still type. Okay. That's the question I'm going to try to answer this week. Okay, so we're at Wednesday. All right, don't worry. The Titans still play on Sunday. All right, and if that's the case, then you still have hope to hold on to. All right, because one of the top things that I'm seeing when I search up Julio Jones is AJ Brown practices for Titans. Julio Jones doesn't. Now, knowing what we know about Julio Jones, Julio doesn't really, honestly, he doesn't really need to practice. But that's also the same thought process that got him to not really play that many games or play that many snaps, too. So if we're really thinking about it, I'm still going with what I've said before. I'm still going with Robert Woods and Emmanuel Sanders to give you those fantasy points that the Julio Jones really couldn't. All right, we should be used to Julio Jones's like practice process throughout the week. You know, the fact that he's been with us for 10 years and he's always had that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, maybe I'm questionable with the hamstring, or maybe I'm questionable with the ankle, or maybe I'm questionable with my turf toe. All right, just get someone that's healthier than him. All right, it ain't hard to find. Oh boy. All right, so goodness great, I gotta pee to the facto. I gotta talk about the Jets. I don't really want to. All right, so concerning their pass rush, Chester Rogers. Oh boy, either that or Nick Westbrook. Goodness gracious. Maybe Anthony Ferkser. Maybe Jeremy McNichols. I don't even remember if that's his first name. I'm so out of it. All right. Yeah. Okay. So regarding that pass rush, when I was looking at the game plan for the Titans, they really underestimated their opponent. It's not to say that they didn't have the offensive line that was capable of blocking Quentin Williams and Quincy Williams. It's just that they thought, hey, we're up against the Jets. All right, this is like a bye week. And oh my goodness gracious, they came up and showed up against us and then beat us in overtime. If you really go back and watch that game, there was a couple of extra possessions that the Tennessee Titans could have had that really got them nothing. You know, and I'm including the field goal drives that are the nothing. Because at the end of the day, if you add 4 more points to the total with the touchdown there instead of a field goal, that wins you the game. You know, obviously there's only so much I can say about a timeline that never really happened. But Jose when he says those European games and jet lag mean anything can happen, I expect another close one. Yeah, I kind of expect a close one too. And I'm glad that you haven't really gave me a question. I'm sorry, but I'm holding it in if you know what I mean. Um, and it's not just jet lag. It's just a matter of focusing on what the task at hand is. All right, because if you don't really pay attention to that, then there's a good chance that you're going to get caught off guard with a team like the Jets. All right, if they showed up against the Titans, I'm just saying that 53-man roster with their coaching staff is something to still be reckoned with. And I know that they're missing a whole lot of players like Mekhi Becton, like Carl Lawson, like Marcus May. Like, they're still missing a lot of key components. but they're still doing what it takes in order to win the game at the end. The task at hand is just win. Like Millie Man says. How many Falcons games have I been to? I've been to only one, and that was against the 49ers in 2019, where we won with that Julio Jones just falling back into the end zone. And then, like that, with the 2 seconds left on the kickoff, we had Olamide Zaccheaus just pick up the failed lateral. So I've been to that game at least. But that has been the only game that I've had the luxury of seeing over here in California. You know, but at the end of the season, I'm going to see a total of 2 games. Because I'm going to be there against that Week 15 matchup against the same San Francisco 49ers. All right. But I don't know if this is a matter of, like, what I've seen in person or what I've just seen over the film, but I've done the necessary research in order to talk about what I've been talking about in the previous weeks, including this week as well. So, yeah, there's that. You know, I would like to go to a lot more Falcons games, but they don't really face the Chargers. They don't really face the Rams. They don't really face the NFC like West opponents or any West teams. You went to the NFC Championship against the 49ers in 2012. They blew the 17-point lead to Davis. Lead to Davis. That was more so Frank Gore than anything. Herbert, that guy in Cali now, huh? Hard to be a Atlanta Falcons fan from the West Coast. Look, man, I was slightly bullied for being a Falcons fan. All right, but that same bullying was the fact that I didn't really switch to any other teams. All right, look, if you're gonna be a fan of one team, you need to talk good about your own team. I don't care that my team did this, that my team did X, Y, and Z. I've been there to know that. All right. But what you're not about to do is convince me that this team is better because you're going to talk down bad about my team. That's not going to convince me to go to the Chargers, to go to the 49ers, to go to the Raiders, to go to the Rams, to go to X, Y, and Z team. Atlanta couldn't cover Vernon Davis in the second half. That same Vernon Davis that retired at halftime for the Bills. First of all, he was a corner. He wasn't even a wide receiver. And second of all, you're kind of right. Especially with the loss of Isaiah Oliver. But honestly, there hasn't been a whole lot of people that are talking about Justin Herbert just for the simple fact that there hasn't been a whole lot of Chargers fans. That's been made pretty well known over here by the amount of fans that show up for the other opponent. All right, like when they face the Cowboys or when they face the Raiders, like there were far more Raiders fans than there were Chargers fans. There were far more Cowboys fans that were Chargers fans. And I know some Chargers fans personally, but they just simply couldn't afford to go over there just for the just for the simple fact of where we're living at. All right, so I've kind of held this up to almost 45 minutes. Maggie's already left the chat, and I'm about to go and take a leak in my own shorts. So if I don't end the stream right now, things are going to go bad for me. All right. I appreciate y'all that tuned in for the second half of the stream. I really want to say that that the second half of the stream can be really listed as the second half of the previous stream. He's saying that he's looking like the best quarterback in Cali right now. The Cards sucks. The Cardinals suck? Wait a minute. Bro, please. Again, please be more sober than me. The Cardinals do not suck. Okay, Derek Carr. Even then, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The Chargers defense really stepped up in the first 3 quarters. All right, and Derek Carr was doing all the heck he can in the fourth quarter in order to bring them back. That's why the score was 14-21 in that Monday night game. All right, approaching the fourth quarter. All right, you can say whatever the heck you want about the first 3 quarters, but do you win in the game? Do you win the game in the third quarter? No. Do you win the game in the second quarter? No. Do you win the game in the first quarter? No. Do you win the game in the fourth quarter? Absolutely. All right, and that's when they started to show up. I'm surprised more so that the Chargers really couldn't take over the game. If anything, they had Austin Eckler that was on a hot streak. Why didn't they? How the heck are you gonna say that when he leads the league in passing and he's 3-1 in his division? Dude, this is the hill that I'm gonna die on. I said this before week 1 even happened, that Derek Carr was gonna be a good player for you in fantasy. Has he proven true? Absolutely. All right, the Chargers defense you got to give them credit for. That's all I'm saying. But when you go into week 5 and you're facing Chicago, and then you go into week 6 and you're facing the Broncos, another good defense, by the way. There's a reason why I'm still holding on to one in fantasy. But they're not a defense that I can overcome. You never tried that kid. You take a rookie. What rookie has done good for you? Mac Jones? Mac Jones has not been performing better than Derek Carr. All right. It's been the only notable rookie that's performed somewhat decently. And even then, they've never been up to the length of Carr so far. All right. All right. As never did last year. He's an anomaly. He's an outlier. And even then, the rest of the team didn't really compensate for his success over on the offensive side of the ball. You can't take a look at one rookie quarterback and be like, "Oh, hey, that's all the other quarterbacks are going to be when they come out of the draft on the very high." All right, in the first round, there has only been so many quarterbacks that took a bad team with a rookie head coach into the playoffs, and one of those quarterbacks was Matt Ryan. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You put some respect on what Matt Ryan did in his rookie season. Kyler Murray did not take the Cardinals to the playoffs in 2019. I'm talking about these quarterbacks that were drafted in like top 3 or top 5 that took their quarterbacks or that took the rest of the team into the playoffs. I'm not going to count Joe Flacco because Matt Ryan had more yards, a better quarterback rating, more touchdowns, less interceptions than him in his rookie season. I'm not going to count Andy Dalton because he was drafted in the second round. I'm not going to count Dak Prescott because he was drafted in the fourth round. I'm talking about this year. Derek Carr has been up to par. Bars, by the way. All right. I'm not even a Raiders fan, but what I'm not about to hear is Derek Carr slander. All right. Derek Carr has been doing whatever the heck he can over in Las Vegas. Remember when Flacco versus Matt Ryan was a debate because they drafted him the same year? Bro, that wasn't really a debate because drafted was Flacco. Because goodness great, because Flacco was drafted in the like the late 20s against the Ravens, which were a good team by the way, because Steve McNair and that whole situation with him. Ramil Lavelle, Latavius Murray, or Davion Williams. Goodness gracious, you're about to make me take a leak in my own shorts. Quick answer, Damian Williams. All right, moving on. I'm about to head out now because oh goodness gracious. All right, this has been fun, y'all. But this is the time that where I would normally end the stream, anyways. All right, you should expect nothing more and nothing less. All right, at this point, I appreciate y'all that check out even after the stream has happened. I can only answer the questions that have been asked to me during the live stream. So if you're watching later on and you have some questions about your own fantasy team, try to do your best in order to join in. Try to say no to card. No, that's when I'm gonna say no to you. Dude, we've been supporting Matt Ryan through thick and thin. What you're not about to do is try to treat Derek Carr as any different. He's been doing the best that he can over in Las Vegas with that weird old Spider 2Y banana scheme that John Gruden's been running over there. All right? You are welcome, and I don't care what you were trying to say for. All right? I appreciate y'all that are tuning in. I got a toilet that I got to introduce myself to, and I will see y'all next Wednesday. All right, I am out.